Welcome to another episode of Licensed RPGs. In this episode, we're going to be returning to the Harry Potter franchise and be taking a look at Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets for the Game Boy Color. A title that manages to improve upon the original, but also removes some of the optional aspects of the previous game. But before I get into the gameplay mechanics and discuss the differences, I feel it's best to discuss the story aspects of this game. Plot-wise, the game follows the events of Book 2 of the series, but much like the last game, drops plot points left, right, and center. To add even further insult to injury, the game sometimes transfers lines from one character in the books to another. Another issue before I bring up the specifics is the lack of students in the hallways during pivotal scenes. For the first issue, the game starts us off with this problem right out of the gate, removing the scene where Harry gets his warning letter for the use of underage magic. And the second example will need to move to the end of the game and watch as Miss Weasley steals her husband's line about communicating with objects if you can't see where they think. In the last issue, I'll turn to the scene where we found out about Mr. Filch's cat. To make matters even worse, we never see Mr. Filch in this entire game, to my knowledge. This is only a small list of changes made to the story, but I'd be here far longer than necessary if I went into all of them. While some of these changes are relatively minor, a few of these changes take away from major plot points in the later books. Gameplay-wise, the game is largely remained the same with turn-based combat, but it's adding a few new spells, character-specific abilities, and card attack combos. On the spell side of things, a few of the characters like Harry and Hermione have specific spells that aren't shared by the other characters, which are an information gathering spell and a fog spell respectively. These character-specific spells aren't a bad idea in general, but neither of these character-specific spells is particularly useful in the grand scheme of things. While the information gathering spell can give you an edge against regular enemies, it doesn't work against most of the bosses in the game. On the plus side of things, each member of the Golden Trio has a character-specific ability which offers its own set of advantages and limitations. On the downside, the character-specific abilities are restricted to one use per battle if you exclude Harry's ability to use card combos. Ron's character-specific abilities allow him to guarantee the acquisition of items and stun your enemies. Hermione's abilities, on the other hand, allow you to boost your defense, offense, or experience earned in a battle. But the only major downside to the combat is that Ron's wand is broken throughout the game, will occasionally backfire, causing him to suffer massive damage at the hands of his own spells. On the encounter side of things, the same system has been kept, which means you'll still need to remember your 5 Ds if you wish to avoid magical encounters. But the only other upside or downside to the encounters is that the clouds that will sometimes appear and Harry won't be able to reach without moving it so far upstream that it disappears, albeit this only really happens in Professor Snape's storage room. Another improvement over the previous game is that each of the floors of the castle now include a floor plan, which makes navigating the school a bit easier, but on the downside, the game has changed several areas of the school in order to accommodate Myrtle's bathroom and the deviation classroom. All the school is largely the same, but the changes are noble and a bit frustrating, to be honest, if you got familiar with the layout of the last game. On the downside of things, Harry will freely be sent on a mission on its own, which makes the game still feel largely a solo character affair, instead of a story involving the Golden Trio. Another weak point is that the game got rid of the potion-making system of the previous game, so if you'd grown fond of that system, then you're out of luck. Another issue people might take with the game is that it's complete removal of house points, so there's no way to affect the ending of this game. Albeit the biggest mistake in my opinion is the overall lack of challenge in the final boss fight if you're at a decent level. In terms of graphics and sound, the game is a mixed bag to say the least. On the bright side of things, the characters have a cartoonish appearance that may appeal to some people. On the downside, the game shamefully reuses most regular enemies at least twice, if not more times throughout the game, making the world feel even more limited. Since there are books devoted to dangerous magical creatures within the Harry Potter universe, so you'd imagine they could come up with something better than rodents of unusual size. The sound side of things is where the game really takes a kick in the pants, since there is a highly limited number of tracks in the game, so it mostly just repeats itself endlessly and makes your ears want to bleed after a while. In conclusion, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets is an improvement over the previous installment, but still leaves a lot of room for improvement on the graphical and sound side of things.